My best friend of 10 years just confessed to me that she's in love with my fiance. We met in college. I honestly think she's my soulmate. I only have brothers, and for me, she was like the sister I never had. When sisterhood, the secrecy, she was my best friend in all senses, always supporting each other through good and bad. My family considered her one of our own. She always had a place in our home, and she even spent weeks with them without me being here because my nephews think of her as an aunt. I met my fiancé in college too. He was in a different major and I met him through one of my brothers. He's the most amazing man I've known, intelligent, kind, cultured, romantic, handsome, everything. I feel like I hit the jackpot with him. He has taught me so many things. Ever since we began to date, he has taught me a language, and in the process of learning another one, some mathematics stuff that I was always ashamed of not knowing and things like that. I feel like I also learned to be more open, compassionate and loving. I'll admit that when I was younger I wasn't always kind due to my depression, but he compliments me and I compliment him. We have a 7-month baby boy and we're in the middle of planning a wedding. My friend and my fiancé met 5 months after we began dating and she was enchanted by him. They almost share the very exact same interests and she's also a very, very smart woman, a genius. Their conversations are deep and amazing and they're good friends. I did notice before that she shows a good amount of interest in him, always asking how is he, what's he's up to, how's his family, and when he's around she can talk to him for hours, but I thought it was because they're entertained by the same things. To be completely honest, I was never scared or threatened by this because I trusted her and my fiancé never gave any sign of being interested in her in the slightest. He asked about her a few times but she almost only existed when she was around, and for him, she was my friend, not ours. She came clean because I asked her to be my maid of honor, and when Say began to cry I think it was of happiness, but she said she couldn't because she has been in love with my husband for 3 years and couldn't do it, that she never tried anything with him and he never gave any sign of being even interested. She said she saw the way he adored me and loved me and could bear it any other way but not my wedding. She said sorry a bunch of times, that she never wanted this to happen. I don't know what to do or how to feel. At the same time, as bad as it sounds, I don't really care because I know my fiancé loves me and she's not that important in his life. However, I know our relationship can't be the same as it was. I just don't know how much will change. I don't know if I should tell my fiancé though, because it's not my secret to share. I guess I was shocked and only wanted to get it out.
I forced my wife to go to a party and now my marriage is ruined. Me and my wife, Kara, have been married for 4 years now. We had an arranged marriage but so far we have had a good marriage and a strong bond. I love her and would do anything for her in the blink of an eye. Before we got married, we decided that we will have our own individual space and we don't have to tell each other everything unless we feel the other person should definitely know. The arrangement went well for years. I didn't have much to hide or to tell, but she did. When I met Kara for the first time, she was a very conservative person and a bit too devoted to religion. She told me that she wasn't a good person in the past but since then she has tried to be a good person living a moral life. She told me some details about her past and how she was a wild girl in college and had several relationships and partners. Even after we got married she would tell me some details about her past but I never pressed to get details. She always refers to her college self in the third person and whenever she talks about her past, she always says that her college self is a horrible person. Since then, she has been more devoted to religion and is quite different from her previous self. I have seen some pictures and videos and Kara is nothing like that person today. Kara doesn't have a lot of friends and mostly spends her time praying or with other religious stuff. I am the only person she shares her thoughts with. A few months ago, out of the blue, she got a call from her best friend from college, Renee. I saw Kara light up after talking to Renee. Kara felt so happy after reconnecting with Renee and Renee invited her to a party at her place. Renee also called up their other friends from college. Kara was conflicted about going to the party. I convinced her to go saying the worst that could happen is that she has a boring night. Kara asked me to come along with her. Even during the drive, I was thinking about getting some embarrassing and funny stories about my wife from her friends. When we reached Renee's place, I realized why Kara was conflicted. Kara was dressed very conservatively, light makeup and very little jewelry. Her friends from college were the exact opposite. They were dressed like tweens going out to party all night. The night started normally about the girls sharing funny tales, but the stories quickly became raunchy and then horrifying. I found out Kara and Renee were the leaders of a group of mean girls. They slept around, abused alcohol and substances and on occasions ruined people's lives. Kara stepped away to go to the bathroom when the group turned to me and told me stories about my wife. Renee talked about Kara getting with most of the professors at their college, which I did know about, but wasn't aware the number was that high. Renee purposely told me about how Kara and Renee systematically gaslit a woman into believing that she is a lesbian and ruined her marriage because her husband had rejected Kara's advances, and all the girls found this incident to be funny. I wanted to leave but I couldn't find Kara. I went to the bathroom to look for her and found her curled up in a corner crying. I picked her up and left immediately. The entire drive back Kara was sobbing and kept repeating I am sorry. She was inconsolable for days and then she threw herself into religion hard. She started praying for 6 to 8 hours every day. Her daily prayers and rituals usually took 2 hours. I thought that giving her space would help her heal and she would talk to me whenever she is ready. We haven't talked much since then. She still cuddles up in bed but doesn't say anything. Last week she told me that she has decided to be celibate for the rest of her life to repent for her former sins. She asked for my support and apologized for springing it on me. She has told me to leave her if I can't live a celibate life with her. I have tried talking to her about trying therapy but she is adamant on her plan. I ruined my near-perfect life by forcing her to go to that party. Update: last night when we got into bed, I told her I love you and I will wait for you to be ready for me. At the time, I wasn't even sure what I meant. I just had to talk to her. Her eyes swelled up with tears. I can tell she wanted to wail and scream but was holding back. She grabbed me and didn't want to let go. She whispered I love you. We held each other for the rest of the night. In the morning, I asked if she would just talk to a therapist. I assured her I would try to support her decisions either way. She agreed and kissed me. We hadn't kissed in almost 2 months. I thought my wife was back. But a few minutes later she texted me from the kitchen, my celibacy doesn't have to mean yours. You are free to leave me. If you want to stay, I will not interfere with your physical need. It killed me reading the text. We haven't said a word to each other since then. Update 2. Kara started therapy thanks to the efforts of some members of her religious group. She will need a lot of time and I don't know if I will ever get my wife back. Everyone keeps telling me that she will get better soon, but I am not sure if she would still be my wife when she does. Even if she does come back, I have heard things about her past that make it very hard for us to just continue our relationship. Some details make me feel that Kara doesn't deserve happiness. For now I will support her to help with her recovery, but I am not sure what happens after.
I'm fed up with my husband demanding trios, to the point that I'm considering leaving for good. I admit I've had and been open to trios with a few people in the past, but they weren't serious relationships, more like friends with benefits. They were also only with men. My husband and I have been together for 5 years, married for 18 months, and he keeps bringing up how he specifically wants to have a trio with me and a woman. I'm not attracted to women, never have been and never will be. It's not how I'm wired. At first I told him that I'm just not interested in women and don't want our relationship to be like that, both in terms of trios generally and this kind of trio in particular, and he seemed to accept it. Later he told me it was unfair, that my other partners got the whole me, because I'd had trios with them but not him. I told him to shove it and he backed off. Now he's back on it and he's saying I'm biphobic by refusing to have a trio with him and a woman. I told him I'm not attracted to women and don't want to have any trios with him at all, especially not when he's acting like a demanding and an entitled baby. He said it was by erasure, and wouldn't lower his voice, so I left and checked into a hotel. I'm back at home now and he's been silently fuming the whole time. I found one of my Pride shirts in the trash and he says it was an accident, and we both know he's lying. I'm thinking I might need to leave for good, but I want to give him time to grow up and learn the word no, if only because of how expensive a divorce is. No solutions, just venting. My husband keeps getting off by my childhood trauma even though I've asked him not to. I've tried everything. Nothing is working. Thinking of divorce. Please don't waste your time on the age gap. It's something I've dealt with for our whole relationship and I don't want to get lectured about it. I've been with my husband for 6 years, married for 2. I know he's older but he looks very youthful for his age and he's super fit and active, so honestly the age was never an issue, ever. Between the ages of 10 and 15 I was essayed by my stepdad, and when I first started getting serious with my now husband, I told him everything, all the details, all the ways it screwed me up and all the horrible aftermath and fallout from various family members. In short, it was all bad, in every which way you can imagine. Within the last 4 months, every time my husband and I make love, it starts out normal but at some point he always starts asking questions about the times I was essayed. He gets real graphic and because we're in the moment, I always answer his questions. I'm not a prude by any means and I even have my own personal likings which he always enjoys, but lately it seems his only thing to get off to is hearing me talk about the most traumatic time in my life. The questions he asks are so gross and so personal and he's never asked these before. The concerning part is he seems to get excited about the details as I answer his question because he always finishes super fast once he starts asking these questions. I've sat him down several times and told him how it makes me feel less than, how it hurts me, how it makes me feel like trash, how it brings me back to a horrible time, and I've told him to stop. He always apologizes about it and says he won't do it anymore, but then we start making love and whether it's 10 minutes, 20 minutes or one of our longer sessions, he always ends up bringing it up near the end of our session, a few minutes before he finishes. I write this in my bed alone as I've asked him to sleep on the couch tonight because he just did it again after I repeatedly tell him not to. I don't know what my next move is. I'm tempted to leave but I don't work and would have to take him to court to get some type of support so I can live, and I know that stuff takes time. I still love him and he's a great husband in every other sense, but this whole thing is turning me off and slowly but surely making me fall out of love with him. If he really loved me, why would he continually hurt me like this? Also, is it possible he is a perv, liking that stuff? How is this new? I've known him for years and he's never mentioned this as being a turn on. Any advice would be appreciated. I have no family and friends here as I'm new to the city we live in and my family lives in a different country. Thank you. Update. My husband and I have decided to separate for the time being as I can't really get over just how weird and hurtful he's been over the past few months. He is currently letting me stay in the house until we figure out the next steps, and although he keeps apologizing, I've decided to leave him and start my life over. To everyone telling me to go back to my home country, I can't, it's not so easy. I did however call my family and told them everything and they were surprisingly supportive, and we've talked every day since my original post, and I couldn't be happier about that. To everyone who left me horrible messages, I'm sorry you are so full of hate and wish horrible things on people, but I will end up stronger than ever after this, so thank you. My husband has been nothing but supportive in my wanting to leave and start over, so all I can do is figure it out and take the advice of my family and my lawyer. Yes, I've been in contact with a lawyer but haven't hired her yet as I'm waiting to get the money from my husband who has volunteered to pay for it. Thanks again. Hope this update was sufficient for everyone. I found my exposed pictures on my brother's PC. About 2 months ago now my brother passed away. It has devastated my family and we have been slowly putting ourselves back together. My mom has finally got to the point where she is comfortable going through his belongings that got sent to us from his flat, and she gave me his PC among other bits to take a look at and see if I could do anything with it. I know a fair bit about computers, so I thought I would set it up to see what still worked. It booted up fine, and to my surprise he didn't have a password on it. He lived on his own, so I guess he never needed to keep anyone out. Out of a sort of morbid curiosity I opened the browser. I thought I could maybe see some of the last things he was looking at towards the end, and I saw a link to his Google Photos in his favorites bar. I thought this was an amazing chance to get back some of the photos we might have never seen. Get some photos of his friends and adventures he'd been on over the years. On the side I saw his albums, and one of them had my name on it. In this album was a ton of my exposed pictures, videos and screenshots of some of my Instagram posts and stories. I didn't go through it for long, but it was a massive amount. I have no idea how he got hold of them or why the heck he'd been collecting them. I used to be in a long-distance relationship with my ex who loved me sending him pictures and videos, but there's no way he would have sent them to my brother. Now I don't know what to do, which is why I'm posting it here, I guess. I can't tell anyone. I now feel so different about him, and I don't understand why he would have done this. Was he attracted to me? Did he get off to these? Or was it just some sort of compulsion he had? I'm a mix of disgusted and devastated, and I just don't know how to move on from it. I keep feeling a need to go back and look how far back this collection goes, but I know I shouldn't.
My girlfriend's family is acting strange following my sudden inheritance. Feel like my life is shattering. Where do I even begin? I'm so lost right now I don't even know how to put things into words or find a good starting point. I guess it goes with how 2 months ago, my life was exactly where I wanted it to be. I've been with the girl of my dreams, 27 female, for the last 3.5 years. We have a house, animals, both of our families get along beautifully, and honestly, the last 3 years with her and my family and her family around the holidays have been some of the most warm, fuzzy memories I've had in my entire life, and, believe me, I've been thinking about those times a lot lately. So, like I said, this problem is going to come in parts because my entire life feels like it is on the brink of completely falling apart. My mother was a very, very wealthy woman. Most of my life, she and I did not get along very well, but I started working in the family business roughly 5 years ago, and since then we've actually developed a great relationship. It was one of those things where, after many years of feeling that my mother hated me, she was at last proud of me and not afraid to say she loved me and valued me. Then, last month in mid-March, she passed away. I'm tearing up thinking about this as I type because I've always felt that despite her resentment towards me in my early years, I loved my mother more than anyone else in this world. I won't say much more than that she had a hard life in spite of her wealth, and I feel I could write a whole book on our relationship. Anyway, she is gone and my siblings and I are now extremely wealthy and have taken possession of the business and all of her investments and property. If that isn't scary enough, I'm having a hard time figuring out what I need to do next. The business I was associated with, I can handle, and my siblings and I have really come together on this, and they seem to trust me with that part of it. But it doesn't wash away the hurt and guilt I feel that I only got a few good years with the woman who gave me life. Anyway, my plan is to marry my girlfriend by next year, and we've already discussed the prenup situation, which I will be getting due to my newfound wealth. She has been nothing but wonderful after my mom's death, but the problems comes in her family. I won't go into much detail, but I love these people like an extension of my own family, but they have already started trying to pry exactly how wealthy I am out of my girlfriend, and her mom has always had a gravitational pull towards, for lack of a better term, pyramid schemes. Her first sibling, Terry, just got married and is working a fast food job. Terry and his wife have decided they will be starting a family soon and stated that they want wife to be a stay-at-home mom. This talk has only recently popped up and been brought to my attention, and I feel like I'm being paranoid. Been directed at me, as there is absolutely no way they'd be able to afford this on the money they currently make, or even while living in their small apartment. Like they are expecting me to help them out in a situation they are wholly unable to handle right now. Sibling number 2, Leslie, has run into some pretty serious legal trouble and is also pregnant. The father has a history of abuse and neither have steady incomes. They have recently come back into our lives after a 4-year-long absence between girlfriend and Leslie, though, prior to this, the two have always been extremely close, as girlfriend is with all of her siblings, as throughout their childhood, a lot of the time all they had was each other. Sibling number 3, Casey, who I hardly ever speak to, has even started chatting me up on Facebook more than she ever has in the entire time I've known her. Is this just my brain devolving into paranoia, or is this actually happening? Like the lottery horror stories you hear where people come out of the woodwork with their hands out when they smell money on someone they know? I know for a fact my mother, for all of her faults, fell victim to this when she inherited this money. She became increasingly bitter throughout her life due to all of the husbands and friends that took advantage of her for what she could do for them. She drank herself stupid every day for 30+ years and moved through carton after carton of cigarettes and alienated her own children. I don't want to be like that. I don't want that to happen. It's been less than a month that I've had more money than I know what to do with, and I'm afraid to spend a dime or do anything with it because I feel like my girlfriend's family is only the beginning. What's worse and will probably make me look like a total shithead is my girlfriend is already committed to helping Leslie. They were close their whole lives, and with all of the legal trouble and pregnancy, girlfriend cries at night thinking about what's happening to her. She has not asked me to help financially or anything, but I have been there every step of the way to help support them and her as best as I can. But how will it look when my girlfriend starts giving out her money to people while I don't and get viewed as a selfish Scrooge? All of this is too much. The last 3 years were just so wonderful. So many magic trips to the beach, wonderful holidays, surrounded by not one but two families full of great people that accepted and loved me, and now it seems like, because I lost my mother and am getting a windfall because of it, everything is changing. I don't get to be happy with family anymore and my whole life is crashing because of this. I know this is so far beyond a first world problem. Poor baby is now a multimillionaire and is a little sad he can't have a happy Christmas, but I feel so broken. I miss my mom. I don't sleep at all. I hardly eat, and despite knowing full well the path my mother went down, I've been drinking a bit and smoking weed more than I ever had on a daily basis. In fact, my siblings seem to be coping just fine, and now I feel like everyone is out to get me. Even my girlfriend is getting a little tired of hearing me voice my concerns over girlfriend's siblings 1 to 3 and her mom's sudden extra interest in me, which is understandable. They are all very close and take up for one another. Now, I'm even doubting myself and thinking it's all in my head. Maybe too many times my mother drunkenly telling me about all the times she trusted people and was let down. I'm just so lost. Update. First, I just want to say wow, this whole thing blew and has made me feel much better about the whole situation. Thank you everyone for your understanding, condolences, and advice. I read the lottery winning thread many of you linked to, and while I'm not currently $300 million richer, I will look into a smaller scale version of all of the things you offered up. I'm not sure if it's worth writing a whole update, but last night, I called my sister and drove an hour to her house and stayed the night with her, her husband, and my nieces and nephew. Over some beer she and I started talking about the whole situation. Oddly, it's the first time we've really talked about anything alone without attorneys or my other siblings around since my mother died. Side note, she passed away on March 8th, and I know there was at least one comment that said this seemed like everything was moving too fast. Anyway, it turns out she isn't as together about everything as I thought she was. I showed her the thread and all of the replies, and both she and I agreed to talk to a financial advisor and look into getting attorneys to help us with this. She had been primarily working with my mom's attorney up until now. I'm going to look into setting up a trust as well. Nothing too crazy, but enough that I can give small gifts to these people and have a cap on it, so to speak, for whenever it does come up. I talked to my girlfriend on the phone this morning and kind of laid it all out, and she was in total agreement. She said she was surprised Casey has suddenly started talking to me and that it was very suspicious. She also said that Terry's wife brought up the kids again and was showing her houses they wanted to get that were way out of their price range, and my girlfriend kind of played dumb and just kept asking questions about how they plan to afford all that, so I know she and I are, for now at least, on the same page. Lastly, when I was talking to my sister last night, she said something that both uplifted and destroyed me. We were talking about our mom and what a hard ass she was, and my sister said that one of the last conversations she had with our mom, my mother said, "You and my brother trust windfall curse. He knows what he's doing and he will make sure everyone is okay." Anyway, thank you all again for all of your comments. I feel like a better and stronger person just one day later.
My husband is scum. Where do I even begin? My husband was sent home Thursday from work after 2 hours and stated he was being investigated. Obviously I'm curious why and asked bail. He was being investigated for harassment at work. Okay, I don't make decisions impulsively, so I wait till the next day to find out the results, as his work says they'll have it wrapped up by Friday. This whole time though I'm ignoring him. He's giving me this sob story that everyone at work is against him and they've all congregated to sabotage him. So Friday comes around and they allow him to keep his job, but he signs an agreement that it happened and it wouldn't happen again. Something at this point still isn't sitting right with me, so I tell him if he wants me to speak at all to him, he needs to tell me the girl's name. He tells me. I go back and forth about messaging her. I'd never tell him. I messaged her Friday. She responds within a minute and says she just started working and can text me on her break. Facebook Messenger, not text, sorry. She never does. I don't want to push anything, especially if my husband is a creep. Saturday he keeps trying to kiss me and hug me and it's just giving me the ick. So I sent her a message. It says, "I just want you to know I reached out to you on my own. I will not tell my husband we've spoken. I just want the truth so I can make a decision for me and my kids." She messaged me back an hour later and it's so heartbreaking. She is 21, I am 34 and my husband is 40. When she started at their work she was very damaged. Her and my husband began to flirt. They exchanged numbers. He gave her rides home after work last summer. She said in his truck he'd ask her to kiss him and she would say no. She said after a while he began to ask her to F, and she would say no. She said she tried distancing herself from him at work, but he started to get weird and aggressive. She stated he would pull on her hair or grab her behind. He would tap on her shoulders. He would stare at her. She also said if another man at work was speaking to her, he would get very mad. She didn't feel safe. She said she wanted to message me but got scared and didn't want to make it worse for her. I get that. About a year ago, when this started, at home he started to exhibit narcissistic personality traits. It was like walking on eggshells every day. Anyways, me and my kids left today. He keeps messaging me saying, I'm ruining everything, and, do I want to end it all over this? And, it's not like I caught him banging someone. He admitted to the rides home, so I'm sure the whole story is true. I think I just needed to get it off my chest. I feel so heartbroken, disgusting, and betrayed. My husband is cheating on me with my best friend. My husband and I have been dating since I was 19 and he was 22. We've been married for 6 years now. We have 2 kids and I'm 6 months pregnant with our third. 2 years ago I found out my dad has stage 3 colon cancer. My dad is my only parent as my mom passed away when I was 12. He's my best friend and life without him doesn't seem as colorful. His laugh is contagious and he gives these big bear hugs that seem to make all of your broken pieces feel like they're perfectly in place again. Whenever I've had a hard day he doesn't poke and prod and just lets me vent and listens. About 5 months ago we discovered the treatments aren't working for him and in direct quote of the doctor he said months not years. Since then he's gotten progressively worse and now is losing memory. He looked at the dog he got for me on my 21st birthday and said, wow, that's a nice dog, where'd you get it? My husband has been my absolute rock. He has been there for me holding my hand and helping me through this. He's been so loving and attentive to both my kids and I. Don't get me wrong, I am a mother first always. I don't allow myself to wallow. My kids are still loved, cared for, played with, and I haven't let my load slack around the house. Once my dad got his updated prognosis, my husband encouraged me to quit my job. About a month later we discovered we were pregnant again and I still hadn't let go of my job. I kept holding out for some reason. After finding out I was pregnant again he assured me it was still okay to quit my job, that honestly it would save us a small fortune on daycare costs anyways. So I did, I quit my job. My best friend and I have been friends since diapers. Her family is like my family and vice versa. My mom and her mom grew up together. We've always been solid and right after my dad's appointment when we found out he had so little time left I drove straight to her house and she held me while I cried for hours. If there are soulmates in friend form, she was mine. Thick as thieves is what my mom used to say. This morning as I was up with my 3-year-old, he's sick, my husband's work alarm was going off. He has a few he sets so I turned that one off and gently woke him up. He said he was up late working so he took the morning off. Rolled over and went back to sleep. As I went to turn off the remainder of his alarms I saw a text from my friend on his lock screen that said I'm assuming since there hasn't been an angry pregnant lady on my doorstep, you haven't told her about us yet. Time froze in that moment. I took his phone and walked away and just read their conversations. 4 months this man has been screwing my best friend, 4 months these people have been lying to my face. And I know what you're going to say, you should have seen the warning signs. But I've been clutching this phone in my hand for 2 hours and nothing. He has been so loving and attentive to me, but he always has been. So kind and gentle. There has been no late night work nights except for once in a blue moon, there has been no lingering touches between them or even glances. They act as they have since the day I first introduced them. How sick is it that she calls him her brother but she screws him? I know so many people get a moment of clarity in situations like this but I have none. Aside from being sad about my dad, I haven't changed. I'm still a loving wife and mother. I still doted on him and my children. I talk to him about how he is doing and how was his day every freaking day. I haven't allowed the ground to swallow me whole. I know what I have to do now, but I just don't want to. I'm about to lose my family and my support system in one blow. I'll confront him tomorrow. Today? Today I just need this last 24 hours of peace. As for her? I won't give her the satisfaction of a response. I don't care why she did it. She did it and it's done. I was always a friend who cleaned up her messes. After today I will cut her out of my life like she never mattered at all. This has to be the hardest storm I'll ever weather, but damn it I know it'll sail through it. If not for me, for my children.